Hey, it's Lauren with Bead Box Bargains, and on today's bead brief, we are going to talk about some of the differences between crystal and glass beads. However, first, I wanted to clear up a point of confusion that I've seen frequently, and that is I want to clarify the difference between crystal as in quartz crystal or the crystalline structure we talk about when we talk about gemstones, or crystals as in differently cut and shaped gemstones. That is not what we mean when we talk about crystal beads. I've even been in jewelry stores where they tried to tell me that the Swarovski crystal jewelry was natural in origin, came from the ground, and that is not accurate. The confusion is understandable because we use the word crystal interchangeably, but they actually have two different origins. And I'm an English major and a language nerd, so this was interesting to me. But the term that we use for gemstones, like this quartz crystal, comes from the Greek kristallos, and that literally means coldness drawn together, like ice. And that makes perfect sense when it comes to the quartz crystal and just the structure of these gemstone beads. However, in I believe it's mid 15th century Italy, a new kind of glass was created called, and I apologize if I butcher this pronunciation, cristallo, which was a extra clear type of glass that looks a lot like quartz, but it was a higher quality, and it became like a name brand that was used for fancy hand-blown Murano glass. So that's when we started using the term crystal to describe fancy glass beads as well. So today we are talking about fancy glass beads, not natural crystal like these quartz. So all crystal beads in the industry, whether you're talking Swarovski, whether you're talking Preciosa, whether you're talking like store brand crystal, they're all glass-based products. So all crystal beads are glass. Not all glass beads are crystal. So let's look at the difference between them. So first of all, here are some crystal beads. This is a strand of our store brand crystal, very sparkly. And here are some Preciosa bicones, also very, very sparkly. So just that extra sparkle that you get is typically caused by minerals added to the glass during the production process. Now, at first, when crystal really started to take off in like glassware and such, most of it was leaded. And in fact, the term crystal, depending on what country you're in, it could, there were like requirements for percentages of lead in the glass. Swarovski crystal used to be leaded. Basically, lead was added to make the crystals extra sparkly. It increases the refractive properties. However, nowadays, as we're more careful about lead, that's not necessarily the case. In 2012, I believe, Swarovski went completely lead-free with their advanced crystal line, and you won't find lead in most of the Preciosa crystals either. So what defines a crystal then? And that is a big question I have done a ton of research on, and again, different countries disagree, different regulatory entities disagree, but at the core of it, the best definition I can come up with is a crystal bead is a glass bead that either has minerals added or is specially cut to increase its refractive properties. In other words, it's a really sparkly glass bead. It's basically where you're at. And I wanted to touch on some of the different kinds of crystals and the difference between them. Obviously, if you are in the jewelry industry, you've probably heard of Swarovski crystals. They're made in Austria. They're one of the industry leaders. We don't stock them as often because I am focused on saving you as much money as possible off of retail price. And Swarovski is pretty finicky with their pricing contracts, etc., which makes it really difficult for us to do that. So we do sometimes occasionally stock Swarovski, but not as often. We do right now have some Czech Preciosa crystal, and you can see these here. And the big differences and advantages of these name brand crystals are going to be just very exact cuts And they also have their own proprietary blends of glass and minerals, recipes that they've perfected, and just lots of research and time that has gone into making the sparkliest beads possible. So Swarovski is probably the most popular brand out there. Preciosa Czech is a close second. Here's a couple more of those Czech crystal beads. I love those little drops. Just they're super duper sparkly. So if you are buying a name brand other than Swarovski or Preciosa, whether it's a store brand, chances are most other crystal comes from China. So chances are if you're not buying Swarovski or Preciosa, it probably comes from China. And some factories in China do it better than others. So I'm pretty picky about the crystal factories that I will work with in China. And some of them just have like the really nice sharp facets like you see on this strand. They're super duper sparkly. They do wonderful coatings. And others are not quite as precise. So I do a lot of vetting of my vendors and work with the ones I have come to trust, because there definitely are big differences in quality when you don't have that name brand. So we do our best to sort through that. So sometimes on websites, like particularly marketplace sites like Etsy or eBay, you'll see like glass crystal advertised. And what does that mean? Mostly it means they're trying to catch you, whether you were look up glass beads or crystal beads with their sparkly beads. They want you to find them either way. So these are some examples of crystals. Here are some others. This is another pack from our website. And again, these are cut and shaped to maximize refraction, and sometimes they have fancy coatings to add extra shine. They're essentially, crystal is basically glass that has been especially treated or otherwise designed to be as sparkly as possible. So I hope that clears up some confusion. Whether you're buying Swarovski or a store brand, it is going to be a silica-based glass product. So that covers more or less our definition of crystal beads. Now, to contrast with that, I wanted to show you some glass beads that are not considered crystal. Probably the most popular and sparkliest form of faceted glass that is not considered crystal would be Czech fire polished glass. And these are considered Czech glass more than crystal, which is its own separate category of glass manufactured in the Czech Republic. We have touched on in previous bead briefs on the manufacturing process, but they are traditionally made and using techniques that have been passed down for hundreds of years. They're beautiful, but they are not necessarily, they don't quite maximize the refraction in the same way that a crystal bead does. As a comparison, here are some fire polished bicone beads. You can see they are very sparkly, and I wish I had some transparent ones in stock, but right now I just don't. So to compare to that, here are some opaque crystal beads on this strand. And you can see just the design, and granted this is a rondelle, but you have more facets on the crystal beads. And they, again, typically have fancy coatings to help them refract that light better, help them be sparklier, where the fire polished beads are gorgeous and amazing, but they have their own design, and they do not have nearly as many facets visible as the crystal beads do. So just that's one difference that you'll see. Another very popular kind of glass bead would be lampwork glass, and that's very different from crystal and easily recognizable. But I just want to go through some different types of glass beads too, because that's something else we get a lot. So glass beads, or lampwork glass beads, are handmade individually. They're spun using like a torch typically, and rods of glass, and they're made over a metal mandrel. And they're made in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. Here are some little mushrooms. Here are some gorgeous Look at those, like swirly patterned round beads. One of the big things you'll see with lampwork glass that's different from other types of glass and crystal is a lot of variation. Little subtle variations in shape and size and pattern, because each one is crafted individually by hand, which is honestly what I love about lampwork. There's so much character in these pieces. So you'll find lampwork glass on our website. You'll also find, of course, check glass, and we've touched on fire polish, but there are lots of other types of check glass. And I would say, in my mind, check glass is definitely the leader of glass products, kind of like Swarovski is the leader of crystal products. Czech Republic, there are lots of different factories and brands operating in the Czech Republic, but a lot of them use the same glass rods from Jablonec. It's just great quality material, amazing true colors, and incredible coatings. So you also have table cut check glass, where you've got these great flat facets in addition to fire polish. And then the other style of check glass that you'll find on our website is pressed. And then these can be round, or like these druck beads, or they can come in all kinds of shapes and colors. It really is an endless array. So I love those butterflies, they're so cute. Anyway, just tons of different check glass on our website, and that's probably my favorite kind of glass beads. But you'll also see our category of other glass, and these are typically more basic but incredibly usable glass strands, like these rounds here. One important distinction that I like to draw in glass is true color versus coated. So true color glass beads are going to be the same color throughout. They are not dyed. They are not dipped. So the color is more even and lasts longer. And that's what I prefer to do. I very seldom offer coated glass strands, because just as a jewelry maker, they annoy me when they flake off and it ruins my jewelry, and I don't like that. If I do, often it's going to be like gradient pieces like this strand, where you have a lot of different coatings going on, and they're really pretty solid, and they're varied enough that if you lose a tiny bit in one spot, it doesn't ruin your whole bead or your whole design. So that's when I look for coated glass. That's what I look for. But I really do prefer the true color glass, just because it is the longest wearing, and I like my designs to last. At least the longest wearing between true color versus coated. And most check glass is going to be true color, but a lot of it has coatings on it too, like this Picasso or this luster coating, or here you've got the Aurora Borealis. So it really depends. A lot of the check glass finishes are very sturdy. If there's ever one that is less sturdy of a coating, we will, like if it does chip or flake noticeably, we will always call that out. Usually you'll have a closeout tag, because I like my glass beads to last, and I like to carry glass beads that I am confident will last in your designs. So yeah, your other glass beads will also include fun pieces like these leaves, just lots of, glass beads come in all shapes and sizes. But on our website, you'll see them categorized into check glass beads, which are all made in the Czech Republic, whether they're fire polished, table cut, or pressed. Or you'll also find the lampwork glass category, which again, they're all handmade. You find a lot of individuality. So if you like, again, pieces with a lot of character, fun designs, lampwork glass is great for that. And the other glass category covers a wide variety of basic glass beads to fun shapes. All right, so I hope this is helpful. Again, I want to reiterate, all crystal beads, no matter the name brand, all crystal beads are glass-based. They are not a natural product. Crystal beads are man-made, whether you're buying them from Austria or the Czech Republic or China. They're all going to be a man-made product, just to be very clear. And out of whether you want the more expensive sparkle of like a Czech or Austrian crystal, which again, the advantages to this are going to be very consistent sizing and faceting, along with usually a very consistent dye lots too. That's the advantage. They cost a lot more. That's the big disadvantage. They're a lot more expensive because it's a name brand. You have a lot, they have to travel through more channels, from production to wholesalers to retailers to us, well, or, you know, as jewelry designers. And we like to work directly with factories to bring you the best prices possible, which when we can find the checker Austrian crystal available at a discount, we will absolutely do that. Otherwise, honestly, I really have been very impressed with how far Chinese crystal has come. So if a crystal bead is marked with a name brand, like Preciosa, like Swarovski, then you know where it comes from. Swarovski's from Austria, Preciosa's from the Czech Republic. If it is not marked with a name brand, typically it comes from China. And some of our beads come from wholesale overstocks in the U.S. where they don't necessarily disclose the factory that made them. But most of the time, if most crystal beads that are not name brand, whether at the craft store, whether they're online, I would say at least 99% of them are made in China, and China makes some great beads. So that's not, it's not a downside. It's just, you know, I just want to be clear about what you're getting when you shop with us. And I am, again, very picky about which factories I work with and which beads I sell. So you will find the advantages of the unbranded crystal beads. The hugest advantage you're going to have is price. The other advantage that I'm seeing is variety. They make so many different kinds in shapes and colors and finishes of crystal beads these days. It's a lot of fun. So do, you know, manufacturers like Swarovski. But I've seen this year and last year and even before, but especially I feel like the last couple of years, just kind of an explosion in the availability of colors, shapes, and sizes of unbranded crystal. So that is a plus as well. We also, every time we get a different dye lot, we will take a new picture because, I say dye lot, it's not like they're, you know, dip dyed afterwards. It's more like the dye that's used during the production. So technically, that would not be considered dyed in the same way that a gemstone would be. I'm just talking about the pigments that they use. They vary a little bit from batch to batch, and I call that a dye lot, whether or not that's the correct term. So I just want to be very clear about the words that I use. But yeah, sometimes when you're buying unbranded crystal, you can buy the same product work with the same factory, and you can get slight color variations. So we'll always take new pictures on our website if that happens. I want to make sure that we are a consistent supplier of high quality crystal beads for our customers. I hope that helps. I hope, and a lot of you probably already know this. We've gotten a lot of questions lately about, are crystal beads natural? What's the difference between a glass bead and a crystal bead? And the answer to that, again, it can be kind of nebulous, but the biggest difference is that crystal beads are a specialty glass designed to be as refractive or as sparkly as possible. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about this video, please let me know in the comments. If you have any suggestions for topics you'd like to see us cover in future bead briefs, I'd love to hear that in the comments too. I really hope that this series can be helpful and educational, and I am really enjoying digging into the information about these items. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.